Whispers in the night. The master's guffaws, usually ignorable as the drone of summer flies, tightened around Lily's throat like a constrictor tonight. Slipping through cracks in the slave quarters walls, his words chilled her to the marrow. Selling the whole lot down river to Louisiana, he graveled, whiskey lacing his voice. They need hands something fierce for the cane. And they ain't particular about keeping 'em breathing. Lily strained against the splintered wood, her pulse a frantic drum against her ribs. Louisiana. Tales painted it as a crucible where the sun blazed mercilessly and toil ended only with collapse, a graveyard of aspirations. Even the girl, Master Thompson? The overseer's voice, unctuous and sycophantic, followed. She's slight, but nimble. Useful for house chores. Got a viper's tongue, that one. Too much backbone for my taste. She'll learn obedience elsewhere. Besides, a pause, pregnant with malice. Something new has caught my eye. Lily needed no further explanation. Something new meant another girl, younger, more defenseless, would soon endure the master's depravity. Bile rose in her throat, warring with a fierce resolve. Remaining was untenable not for herself, nor for any other potential victim. The master's ponderous steps receded, tailed by the overseer's lighter ones. Lily waited, every sinew coiled, until the sounds dissolved into the night's chorus of crickets and rustling leaves. Then, she peeled away from the wall, her bare feet soundless on the packed earth. Inside the cramped room, the other slaves lay splayed in exhaustion from the day's brutal labor. Old man Silas, his face a roadmap of suffering, snored softly. Mama Rose, her eyes normally alight with warmth, stared vacantly at the ceiling, lost in a world Lily couldn't penetrate. She crept to her corner where she secreted her meager treasures, a river-smooth stone, a shard of azure glass, and a frayed swatch of fabric, a memento from her mother before her sale. She nestled the stone and glass within the cloth, knotting it into a small package. Inhaling deeply, she approached Mama Rose, gently nudging her shoulder. Mama Rose's eyelids flickered, her gaze unfocused. Mama Rose, Lily breathed, her voice a mere sigh. I'm leaving. Understanding dawned in Mama Rose's eyes. Leaving? Child, what are you saying? I overheard the master, Lily blurted, her voice trembling. He's selling us. To Louisiana. Horror bloomed on Mama Rose's face. She knew the implications. You can't, Lily May. Too perilous. You wouldn't survive. I must try, Lily insisted, resolve stealing her voice. I won't stay and await my fate. And perhaps I can discover a path to freedom. Mama Rose gazed at Lily's unwavering expression, her own softening with empathy. She reached out, her weathered hand cradling Lily's cheek. Be careful, girl, she rasped, emotion choking her voice. And remember, you're stronger than you believe. Follow the North Star, it will guide you. Lily nodded, tears pricking her eyes. She embraced Mama Rose tightly, then pivoted and slipped through the doorway, dissolving into the shadows. The night air, cool against her skin, offered a welcome respite from the quarter's stagnant heat. A crescent moon cast elongated, spectral shadows that danced around her. Hugging the edges of the fields, her heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs with each rustle and hoot. The overseer's cabin stood in silhouette, a solitary lamp burning within. Lily stilled, her gaze riveted to the door, straining for any sound that might betray her. An eternity seemed to pass before the overseer emerged, stretching and yawning. He relieved himself against the cabin wall. Lily seized her chance, sprinting across the open ground and vanishing into the dense woods fringing the plantation. The forest swallowed her in a cloak of darkness. Thorns raked her bare legs, branches snagged in her hair. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves hung heavy in the air. Fear clawed at her, but she suppressed it, clinging to Mama Rose's parting words. Follow the North Star. She blundered through the undergrowth, her eyes scanning for a break in the dense canopy. At last, she espied it, a minuscule beacon in the ebony sky. She recalibrated her course, keeping the star to her left. A fragile pinprick in the immense darkness. It was enough. The deeper she plunged into the woods, the more untamed they became. The trees soared, their canopies meshing, denying the moon's pale light. The ground, uneven, was strewn with fallen timber and obscured roots. She stumbled repeatedly, scraping knees and elbows, yet she rose each time, driven by an overpowering urge to escape. As the first blush of dawn tinged the eastern horizon, Lily collapsed at the foot of an ancient oak, spent and trembling. She huddled against the gnarled bark, her small frame racked with sobs. Utterly alone, lost in the wilderness, she possessed nothing but the clothes she wore and a small bundle of keepsakes. But as the sun ascended, bathing the trees in gold, a new sensation flickered within. Not yet hope, but something akin to it, a fragile defiance, a spark of will. She was afraid undeniably, but she was also unbound. And that, she understood, was worth any battle. Drawing a deep breath, she wiped her tears and fixed her gaze on the North Star, still visible in the nascent light. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice raw. Then, squaring her shoulders, she pushed herself to her feet and resumed her journey deeper into the unknown. The thirsting land. The land was a crucible. Each dawn brought not solace, but a fresh wave of scorching air that distorted the horizon. Lily May's parched throat felt choked with dust, her tongue thick and useless. The threadbare dress, once a badge of her bondage, now offered paltry shield against the sun's brutal assault. Isolation had been her constant companion since escaping the plantation. Only the vultures spiraling overhead offered grim reminders of her existence in this stark expanse. Mama Rose's teachings surfaced. "The land gives, child. Listen close." Yet all Lily perceived was the sibilant sigh of the wind, a cruel echo of the refreshment she so desperately yearned for. Days dissolved into a relentless quest for survival. Each dark crevice whispered of potential reprieve, each boulder the faint hope of trapped dew. She clawed at the earth, nails splitting and bleeding, seeking sustenance in roots. Most were desiccated and bitter, little more than dust in her mouth. Once she stumbled upon a cluster of dwarfed berry bushes. The fruit's sharp tang made her cheeks ache, but the fleeting burst of moisture was a godsend. Emptiness gnawed at her insides. She conjured memories of pilfered scraps from the master's table, the salty rind of bacon, the discarded heels of loaves. Now even the swill fed to swine seemed a banquet. One sweltering afternoon, clambering across a craggy outcrop, she noticed it, a flicker of mottled hide coiled in the shade of a sun-baked rock. A serpent. Head raised, its cold, obsidian eyes locked onto her. The rasping rattle, a dry, ominous drone, vibrated in her bones. Lily froze, instantly recalling tales of venomous strikes and agonizing ends. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Deliberately, cautiously, she retreated, each movement measured, each breath shallow. The serpent remained poised, its gaze tracking her every step. Instead of fleeing in panic, she moved with quiet resolve, widening the distance between them. Only when safely removed did she dare to turn and scramble back down the rocks, her limbs weak with fear. That night, she sought refuge under a skeletal mesquite, the snake's image seared into her memory. Sleep brought scant comfort. She thrashed and cried out, haunted by visions of fangs and poison. The next sun painted the sky in fiery hues, but its beauty was lost on Lily, her body leaden and unresponsive. Thirst had become a constant torment. Her lips were raw and cracked, her skin a flaky shell. She plodded onward, fueled only by a primal will. The North Star, her steadfast guide, seemed mockingly remote. She surveyed the horizon, desperate for any sign, a leafy canopy, a soaring bird, anything hinting at water. Spotting a hawk tracing wide circles above. Hawks meant quarry, and quarry meant a source of water. Gathering her waning reserves, she trailed the bird's flight, her gaze fixed on the distant peaks. As she pressed on, her mind began to play tricks. Mirages of crystalline springs shimmered before her. She reached to grasp them, only to find empty air. Her steps faltered, her vision clouded. She crumpled to the arid ground, the heat pressing down like a smothering shroud. The sun's incandescent fury leached the last of her fortitude. She drifted, succumbing to exhaustion. "Mama Rose," she croaked, her voice a mere sigh. "I can't," yet, even as she spoke, a defiant ember kindled within. She recalled Mama Rose's unbending grit, her refusal to yield. She remembered the other enslaved, their faces etched with suffering and strength. She recalled the master's pitiless eyes, his leering gaze. And she understood she could not surrender. Not now. With a guttural groan, she struggled to her hands and knees. The world spun, but she clung to the image of those distant mountains, to the promise of water, to the hope of liberty. She refused to become carrion for the buzzards. She would not permit the thirsting soil to claim her. She would endure. She must. Lost in the dust. The sun, a pitiless glare, hammered down on Lily May's exposed skin. She swiped a gritty tongue across lips already parched, the taste of dust a grim constant. Each step was a battle won, her muscles screaming in protest. She strained to pierce the horizon, desperate for any deviation in the monotonous terrain, only to find the shimmering heat playing tricks on her eyes. Then a smudge. A dark blemish against the bleached sky. Hugging the ground, it seemed to swell with unnatural speed. Lily froze, her pulse a frantic drum against her ribs. Plantation storms were child's play compared to this. This felt malevolent. The wind stirred, a dry whisper escalating into a ravenous gale. Sand lashed her face, invading every pore. She choked, the air thick with sediment. That dark stain morphed into a colossal wall, swallowing the light. Panic surged. Shelter was paramount, yet utterly absent. No reprieve offered by rock or tree, only the implacable expanse of the desert floor. Frantic, she cinched her pack, securing what remained of her water and meager fare. This held everything. The tempest roared in with the force of a battering ram. The wind shrieked, tearing at her threadbare clothes. Sand became a scything, blinding curtain, reducing the world to a few feet of stinging chaos. Lily stumbled, eyes clamped shut, arms raised in futile defense. She tasted blood where abrasive particles had drawn first blood. She clung to the straps, knuckles bone white, sinews stretched to breaking. But the wind was a relentless beast. It yanked, it clawed, an invisible hand trying to wrest her lifeline away. Lily gritted her teeth, digging her heels, refusing to yield. A sudden, brutal gust tore through her. The force staggered her. She felt the straps bite into her shoulders, then agonizingly slip from her grasp. No! The cry was lost in the storm's ravenous maw. She lunged, fingertips grazing the canvas, but too late. The wind seized it, tossing it aloft like refuse. Lily watched, defeated, as her pack, her salvation, vanished into the vortex. Gone. Consumed by the raging elements, leaving her stripped and exposed. Tears tracked down her face, mingling with grit and perspiration. Lost, blinded, bereft. Not just of supplies, but of hope's last ember. The desert, already vast and merciless, now felt like a suffocating tomb, imprisoning her in its sandy grip. She wrapped her arms around herself, shivering despite the oppressive heat, and crumpled to her knees. The wind howled, a jeering chorus of despair. What was the point of resistance, of endurance, if the wasteland was determined to steal everything? She closed her eyes, willing the sand to bury her, the tempest to consume her. Perhaps oblivion offered the only solace. Then, a spark, a flicker of defiance ignited within her. The same stubborn resilience that had propelled her this far. She conjured the image of her mother, her face etched with hardship, her spirit unbent. She recalled the whip, the shackles, the endless cycle of toil, and the promise of freedom, a shimmering mirage she refused to relinquish. Lily May snapped her eyes open, spitting out the bitter taste of sand. She would not surrender. Not now. Not ever. She would weather the storm as she had weathered so much before. She would find a path even if it meant crawling. She would not let the desert break her. The storm continued its onslaught, but Lily May stood, a solitary silhouette against the swirling chaos. Lost to the dust, but unvanquished. Eyes in the twilight. The sun, a molten coin sinking into the horizon, spilled its fiery hues across the sand, drenching the dunes in shades of carmine and ember. Lily May pressed onward, her mouth a cavern of dryness. The sand, still holding the day's fever, stung through the worn leather of her boots. Each step was a hard-won battle against the hollowness in her belly and the heavier void in her soul. Then she registered them, twin glints of verdant fire piercing the encroaching gloom. Coyotes. Distant at first, mere sparks against the dying light, yet Lily knew their nature without question. Predators, and she, undeniably, was their quarry. Her breath caught in her chest. A frantic scan of the terrain yielded nothing. No tree, no boulder, not even a meager shrub to offer a semblance of refuge. Only the relentless expanse of sand, the deceptive allure of the desert's gloaming. She forced herself forward, her legs protesting with each stride. Perhaps sustained movement, a display of unwavering resolve, would dissuade the creature. A futile hope, but hope was all she had left. The emerald eyes narrowed the distance. A guttural murmur, carried on the breeze, vibrated through her bones. It spoke of ravenous hunger, of calculated patience, of an inevitable chase. Lily risked a glance behind her. The coyote was no longer a distant shimmer, but a sinuous, shadowy form, hugging the ground. Its gaze locked onto her with unwavering focus. Panic threatened to choke her. She bolted, her lungs ablaze, her vision blurring at the edges. The sand seemed actively malicious, clinging to her feet, stealing her momentum. She could hear the soft susurrus of the coyote's paws gaining ground, the sound amplifying with each beat of her heart. Ahead, a chaotic jumble of sandstone rose abruptly from the flat desert floor. Her last recourse. With a surge of adrenaline, She propelled herself toward the rocks, her heart hammering against her ribs. She clambered over the first boulder, her palms abraded by the rough stone. The coyote was closing in, its fetid breath a phantom on her heels. She hauled herself onto a taller rock, her muscles screaming in defiance. The outcrop presented a labyrinth of fissures and precipices, a treacherous landscape of sharp edges and crumbling shale. She conceded she couldn't outpace the predator forever, but perhaps a hiding place could be found. She squeezed through a narrow chasm between two massive stones, her body contorting with the effort. The rock rasped against her skin, further shredding her already ragged clothes. On the other side, a small, shallow alcove offered scant refuge. She huddled in the darkness, her breath sawing in ragged gasps. The air was thick with the scent of dust and minerals. She could hear the coyote pacing outside, its growls amplified by the confined space. It knew she was trapped. Inevitably, it would find her. Lily shut her eyes, her mind flailing. She was cornered, isolated, and utterly vulnerable. The despair she had so ferociously fought threatened to drown her anew. But then, a spark of resilience ignited within her. She would not surrender. Not now. Not ever. She had known greater horrors. She had endured the whip, the starvation, the back-breaking labor. She had stared down men fueled by malice and armed with cruelty. She would not be subdued by a mere coyote. She opened her eyes, her expression hardening. She might be confined, but she was unbroken. She would contend. She would endure. She would find a way out. Outside, the coyote continued its relentless circuit, its eyes gleaming with predatory hunger in the twilight. The hunt remained very much underway. A stranger's kindness. The sun was a hammer beating against her skull. Lily May's tongue felt like sandpaper scraping against the roof of her mouth. Thirst, a constant companion, had now become a tormentor, twisting her insides into knots. She remembered the creek, a ribbon of silver in the moonlight, and with a surge of desperate energy, she stumbled towards where memory placed it. But the creek was gone. Only cracked earth remained, a spiderweb of dryness stretching out before her. Panic clawed at her throat. She dropped to her knees, her fingers scrabbling at the parched ground. Beneath the surface, the earth was cool, a cruel reminder of the moisture that had once been there. Using a shard of flint she'd picked up weeks ago, Lily May dug, the sharp edges biting into her raw fingers. Each scoop of dirt offered only the same dry promise. Deeper she dug, ignoring the throbbing in her temples, the ache in her muscles. She had to find water. She would find water. The hole deepened, becoming a small pit, a testament to her desperation. Still, nothing. Just dry, lifeless earth. Finally, her strength gave out. Her arms trembled, refusing to lift another handful of dirt. She slumped forward, her face pressed against the cool earth, the scent of dust filling her nostrils. The world began to tilt, the sun a blinding white circle. She closed her eyes. Then darkness. Jedediah Jed Stone was not a man prone to sentimentality. Years of hard living on the unforgiving plains had stripped him of any illusions he might have once held. He trusted his horse, his rifle, and the weather in that order. People, on the other hand, were usually trouble. He'd been tracking a stray calf, lost from his meager herd, when he saw her. A dark shape sprawled on the cracked earth, near what was once a creek bed. He almost rode past. Strays were strays, and he had enough problems of his own without taking on someone else's. But something about the way she lay there, so small and still against the vast, indifferent landscape, made him pull back on the reins. He dismounted, his weathered face creased with suspicion. He approached cautiously, his hand resting on the butt of his Colt. As he drew closer, he saw that it was a girl, no more than a child, dressed in rags. Her skin was the color of rich earth, and her face was gaunt, her lips cracked and bleeding. Dehydration, he reckoned. And likely starvation. Jed knelt beside her, his joints protesting with a chorus of pops and creaks. He felt for a pulse. Faint, but there. He cursed under his breath. Damned do-gooder instinct. He hadn't asked for this. He retrieved his canteen from his saddlebag. The water was lukewarm, but it was water. He gently lifted her head, cradling it in his calloused hand. Her eyelids fluttered open, revealing eyes that were dull with thirst and exhaustion. Easy now, he rasped, his voice rough from years of dust and wind. He carefully trickled water into her mouth, a few drops at a time. She swallowed weakly, her throat working. He continued until the canteen was nearly empty. The girl's breathing became a little steadier, her eyes a little brighter. Water, she whispered, her voice hoarse. There's more, Jed said, but you need to take it slow. He let her rest, watching her with a mixture of irritation and grudging concern. He still didn't know where she came from or what she was doing out here alone. He didn't particularly want to know. After a while, he helped her sit up. She leaned against him, her small body trembling. He could feel the heat radiating off her skin, a testament to the brutal sun. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice gruff. She looked at him, her eyes filled with a deep, unsettling weariness that belied her age. "Lily May," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Jed sighed. Lily May. Another stray. Another problem he didn't need. But he couldn't just leave her here to die. "All right, Lily May," he said, standing up and pulling her to her feet. "Let's get you back to my place." He knew, with a sinking feeling, that his solitary life had just become a whole lot more complicated. Lessons of the West. Lily May surfaced to the acrid tang of wood smoke and the fire's staccato pops. A dull hammer pounded behind her eyes, and her tongue felt like the parched earth of a drought-ridden field. She lay upon a makeshift mattress of pine needles, a coarse woolen blanket her only cover. Above, the sky peeked through the boughs of a skyscraping pine, a faded cerulean. "About time you woke," a voice like grinding stones rasped. Jedediah Stone, hunkered by the blaze, prodded at something in a battered tin. His face, a roadmap of wrinkles carved by sun and hardship, revealed nothing. "Water," Lily May rasped, her voice a thread. He grunted, offering a dented canteen. The liquid, cool with a metallic edge, was ambrosia to her parched throat. She drank deeply, heedless of the complaining ache in her gut. "Easy does it," Jedediah warned. "Keep it down now." With the canteen empty, he presented a bowl of stew. Thin, mostly broth swimming with rabbit scraps and unfamiliar roots, but she savored each spoonful. "Got kin?" Jedediah inquired, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. Lily May shook her head, the phantom limp pain of memories stabbing her chest. She wouldn't speak of that life, those people. Not yet. Perhaps never. Jedediah didn't push. "Well, you can't squat here. This ain't no place for a citified girl." He spat into the fire's heart. "Then what am I to do?" Despair, thinly veiled, laced her question. Jedediah shrugged, his shoulders rising and falling like the slow heave of the earth. "Learn. Adapt. Hold on." He rose. "Sun's climbin'. Time you earned your keep." The following days were a harsh curriculum in survival. Jedediah demonstrated fire starting with flint and steel, his patience fraying with each sparkless strike. He identified edible flora, pointing out toxic doppelgangers with a chilling finality. He showed her how to construct snares for small game, how to butcher and prepare them without a shred wasted. "Waste is a sin out here," he declared, his gaze unwavering. "Everything has a price." He was a demanding instructor, his methods unforgiving, yet Lily May detected a flicker of something akin to protection beneath the gruff exterior. He wouldn't allow her to fail, pushing her past perceived limits. One evening, as the fire embers glowed like rubies, Jedediah gestured skyward. "See them stars?" Lily May gazed up, mesmerized by the celestial tapestry, a million diamonds scattered on ebon cloth. "That's how you find your bearings," Jedediah explained, indicating Polaris. "Always points true north. Learn the constellations and you'll never be completely lost." He spent hours reciting the constellations' names and positions, his voice softening as he spun ancient tales and myths. Lily May listened, absorbing the information, a fragile ember of hope igniting within. "How do you come to know all this?" she ventured. Jedediah stared into the embers, his face obscured by shadow. "Learn things a man shouldn't have to," he said, his voice a low rasp. "Seen things best left unseen." A long silence stretched between them before he sighed. "Soldier, once. Back east. The war between the states." The words hung in the still air, heavy with unspoken horrors. Lily May had overheard whispers of the conflict, the carnage and the battles, but she couldn't reconcile that image with this weathered recluse. "Lost good men," Jedediah continued, his voice barely audible above the rustling leaves. "Lost. More than a man should." He fell silent, but Lily May saw the pain etched in his features, scars far deeper than any on his skin. She understood in that instant that Jedediah Stone was more than a hardened loner. He was a man haunted by a past he could never outrun, a man who had witnessed the world's darkest corners. And yet, despite his burdens, he had chosen to pull her from the wreckage. "Thank you," Lily May whispered. Jedediah grunted, turning away. "Don't thank me yet," he said, his voice rough around the edges. "The Real test ain't come. Bandits on the trail." The sun hammered down, turning the dust to a fine powder that clung to their sweat-soaked clothes and coated Jedediah's and Lily May's weathered boots. He forged ahead, Winchester a steadfast presence across his back, promising silent defense. Her gait, lighter with each passing day since their escape, mirrored a newfound alertness, her gaze cutting through the arid landscape. Jedediah had her butchering game, cleaning fish, each task completed with steely resolve. They'd walked for what felt like an eternity, the terrain a monotonous spread of thorny brush and gnarled trees, until Jedediah halted, hand shooting up like a signal flag. "Riders," he rasped, his voice barely audible above the buzz of insects. Lily May strained, catching the distant thrum, the unmistakable cadence of hooves striking the parched earth. Jedediah yanked her behind a jumble of boulders, his eyes sweeping the shimmering horizon. 3 figures materialized from the heat-hazed distance. Rough customers, faces etched with hardship, clad in patched and faded garments. Each carried a rifle held with casual menace. Brigands! The very thought sent icy fingers tracing Lily May's spine. Closer now, the leader reined in his mount, his gaze like a hawk's, taking in Jedediah and Lily May. He spat a brown stream into the dirt. "Well, now, what have we stumbled upon?" Jedediah stood firm, his expression a mask. "Just traveling." The leader chuckled, a dry, rasping sound. "Traveling with company, it appears." His eyes lingered on Lily May, a predatory spark igniting within them. "That girl, she's stirring a memory." He goaded his horse into a slow circle. "Ain't you Lily May? From the Boudreaux place near Natchitoches?" Lily May recoiled, seeking shelter behind Jedediah. Her pulse hammered a frantic rhythm. How could they know? How could they have tracked her? Jedediah's jaw hardened. "She's with me." "Is she now?" The leader exchanged a significant look with his cronies. "Seems you've got yourself a runaway, old-timer. And since aiding and abetting is frowned upon, I'll take her off your hands." "She's not going anywhere," Jedediah stated, his voice even, a low rumble of warning. "Don't be a fool," the leader sneered. "She's chattel. Not worth breathing your last for." Jedediah's eyes narrowed to slits. He shifted his weight, his hand edging towards his rifle. "Leave my property." "Your property?" The leader's laugh was cruel. "This ain't yours, codger. This is God's country and we're delivering justice." He nodded to his men who fanned out, encircling Jedediah and Lily May. "Now, peaceful surrender, or shall we take what we're owed?" The air thrummed with unspoken threat. Lily May felt icy tendrils of fear clutch at her. She knew their motivations. The law was a mere pretext. They craved the reward, the chance to drag her back to the living torment she'd fled. Jedediah didn't waver. He brought up his rifle, the motion fluid, practiced. "You're not touching her." Surprise flickered in the leader's eyes. "You're making a grave error." He drew his own pistol, the polished steel glinting under the sun's harsh glare. The report of the rifle cracked the silence. Jedediah fired first, finding his mark. The leader's horse screamed, a high-pitched, agonized sound, and plunged, unseating its rider. All hell broke loose. The bandits unleashed a volley, bullets singing past Lily May's ears. Jedediah shoved her behind the protective rocks, using his body as a shield. He returned fire, each shot deliberate, lethal. A bandit yelped, clutching his arm. But they were outgunned. A bullet tore across Jedediah's flank, slicing through cloth and painting the parched ground crimson. He stumbled, but continued to fight, his face a grimace of pain and resolve. "Jedediah!" Lily May cried, her voice constricted with terror. "Get down!" he roared, his voice strained. He fired again, crippling the second bandit with a shot to the leg. The man collapsed, wailing in agony. The leader, having regained his feet, lunged towards them, pistol raised. Jedediah was reloading, his movements suddenly slow and heavy. Too slow. Lily May acted on pure instinct. She seized a fist-sized rock and hurled it at the leader with all her strength. It connected with sickening thud against his temple and he crumpled, senseless. The remaining bandit, witnessing his comrades incapacitated, faltered. He eyed Jedediah, then Lily May, his face a study in conflicting impulses. With a curse torn from his throat, he wheeled and vanished into the dense scrub. Silence returned, punctuated only by the groans of the wounded and the ragged breaths of Lily May and Jedediah. Jedediah sagged against the rocks, his hand pressed tightly to his bleeding side. His face was ashen, his eyes clouded with pain. Lily May crawled to him, her hands trembling violently. "Jedediah, you're hurt." He looked at her, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. "I'll be fine. Just a nick." But his voice lacked conviction, and Lily May knew the wound was deeper than he let on. He had saved her life, risking his own. And now he was suffering the consequences. Words of freedom. Lily May's fingers, clumsy with fright, tugged at the hem of her worn underskirt, ripping off strips. Jedediah, propped against a gnarled oak, possessed a complexion ashen beneath the dust. The bullet, thank God, had only creased his arm. Yet the laceration poured crimson onto his homespun shirt. "Stay still," she breathed, pressing the makeshift compress against the wound. A sharp intake of breath was his only reply, jaw tight. "Waste of good cloth," he rasped, not resisting her ministrations. She blocked him out, intent on staunching the bleeding. The bandit leader's stunned face, collapsing into the dirt, replayed in her mind's eye. Such ferocity. Where had it come from? The revelation chilled her, even as a strange strength surged through her. Their trek lasted 2 days, Jedediah favoring his injured side, his customary stride reduced to a hobbled gait. Lily May, normally so reticent, filled the air with a stream of chatter, part remedy for his pain, part shield against the dread that clawed at her, the awareness that they remained prey. She spun the stories her mother had loved, of valiant heroes and wily creatures, her voice a thread of sound against the vast, indifferent landscape. On the 3rd day, the crest of a gentle slope revealed their prize, a derelict homestead consumed by the relentless advance of the forest. A listing cabin slumped on its stone moorings, its roof partly caved in, empty window sockets staring out like vacant eyes. A rusted-out plow lay marooned in a weed-strangled field. It was a sorry sight, but to Lily May it offered sanctuary. "We can rest," she managed, her throat raw with relief. Jedediah scanned the place, his gaze narrowed. "Could be claim jumpers. Could be trouble waiting. We need rest, Jedediah. Please." He conceded with a sigh that spoke of exhaustion and caution. The cabin stood abandoned, haunted only by the echoes of its past. A thick layer of dust muffled the floorboards and cobwebs hung like spectral shrouds. Despite the state of disrepair, the damaged roof promised some respite from the elements. Lily May began to tidy, flinging debris and cobwebs aside with a broken branch. Jedediah leaned in the doorway, his arm cradled in a bandana sling, observing her. He witnessed her resolve, the unwavering dedication she displayed, her slight frame radiating a fierce determination. "Why you push yourself so hard?" he inquired, his tone gruff. She paused, wiping perspiration from her forehead with the back of her hand. "I want to make this a home. Make it safe for us." The declaration hung in the air, a fragile, heartfelt desire. As dusk fell, painting the sky in shades of fire, Lily May unearthed a small wooden box tucked into a recess in the cabin. Inside, resting between aged linens and fabric riddled with moth holes, lay a book. Its cover bore the marks of time, its pages frail and yellowed, yet Lily May handled it like a precious jewel. She approached Jedediah, who was nursing a small campfire outside the cabin. Wood smoke blended with the aroma of wild blossoms. "What's this you got?" he questioned, squinting at the volume in the fading light. "I don't know," she whispered, "but I want to find out." "Will you teach me?" Jedediah's expression remained unreadable. He recognized the longing in her gaze, the deep craving for something beyond mere existence. He knew all too well the sting of denied knowledge, the prison of ignorance. "I'm no scholar, Lily May." "Please, Jedediah. I want to learn. I need to learn." After a pause, he took the book. His weathered thumb traced the faded script on the cover. "Pilgrim's Progress," he pronounced, his voice rusty. Lily May's eyes grew wide. "What does it say?" He opened the book, his brow furrowed in concentration. Years had passed since he'd read. The words felt awkward on his tongue. But he began, stumbling over some of the intricate phrases, his voice growing stronger with each line. Lily May listened intently, her face illuminated with a mixture of wonder. The story blossomed before her, a narrative of a man's journey, facing adversities, seeking redemption. It was worlds apart from her hardscrabble life, yet it spoke to something deep within her. As Jedediah read, Lily May drew nearer, her fingers tracing the curves of the letters. She echoed his words, struggling with the unfamiliar sounds, her voice filled with a nascent passion. "Hope," Jedediah stated, indicating a word on the page. This word, hope. Hope, Lily May echoed, the word a novel sensation in her mouth, yet stirring something within. In that dilapidated cabin, beneath the silent watch of the stars, a new journey commenced. Not of miles, but of language. A journey toward liberty, not merely from physical constraints, but from the confines of ignorance. And in the shared experience of reading, a bond was forged, stronger than iron, more lasting than the untamed wilderness. A hardened mountain man and a fugitive slave girl, each bearing the scars of their past, finding comfort and purpose in the pages of a tattered book. Hunted. The crows announced him first, their raucous cries tearing through the dawn quiet. Jedediah was already awake, stoking the fire. Lily May was curled up, still asleep. He taught her to make a tighter roll in her blanket against the chill, and she looked almost comfortable. He envied her that. He rose, peering through the gap in the homestead's crumbling wall. A lone rider, black as sin against the rising sun, sat his horse 100 yards out, motionless. Even at this distance, Jedediah could feel the menace radiating from him. "Lily May," he said softly, nudging her awake. "We got company." Her eyes flew open, wide with alarm. "Is it them?" "Could be," Jedediah replied grimly. More likely, it's someone looking to collect a reward for tinning you in. He grabbed his rifle, checking the load. We need to move and fast. They packed their meager belongings in silence, fear a tangible thing hanging in the air. Jedediah extinguished the fire, scattering the ashes. He took one last look at the Pilgrim's Progress, tucked safely in his saddlebag. He hoped they'd have time for it later, but right now survival came first. They slipped out the back of the homestead, heading west, away from the rider and into the thickest part of the woods. Jedediah pushed Lily May ahead of him, his senses on high alert. He knew they couldn't outrun a horse, but they could disappear at least for a little while. By midday, they were deep in the woods, the trees offering a dense canopy that filtered the sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. They hadn't seen the rider, but Jedediah knew he was still out there, patient as a predator. He could feel it in the air, a prickling awareness at the back of his neck. He stopped Lily May near a stream. "We need water," he said, his voice low, "and we need to rest, but not for long." As Lily May cupped her hands to drink, Jedediah scanned the surrounding woods. A twig snapped nearby. He whirled around, rifle raised, but saw only a deer, its eyes wide with fright before it darted away. "Easy," Lily May said, her voice trembling. "It's just a deer." "He's close," Jedediah said, his jaw tight. "I can feel it." They moved on, following the stream, hoping it would lead them somewhere safe. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows that danced and shifted around them, playing tricks on their eyes. Suddenly, they heard voices, not English, but a guttural language Jedediah didn't recognize. He pulled Lily May behind a thicket of bushes, peering through the leaves. In a small clearing, a village of teepees stood bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. Native Americans, men, women, and children moved about their evening tasks, their faces etched with a quiet dignity. Indians, Lily May whispered, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. "Stay quiet," Jedediah warned. "We don't know if they're friendly." But Lily May was already moving, stepping out of the bushes and into the clearing. "Hello," she said, her voice clear and unafraid. All activity in the village stopped. Every eye turned towards her. A woman, tall and regal, stepped forward, her face etched with curiosity. "Who are you?" she asked, her English accented but understandable. "My name is Lily May," she said. "And this is Jedediah. We are travelers and we are lost." The woman studied them for a long moment, her eyes searching. Then she nodded. "I am a pony," she said. "You are welcome to share our fire." Jedediah remained wary, his hands still resting on his rifle, but he followed Lily May into the village. As they sat by the fire, sharing a simple meal of roasted meat and berries, Lily May began to tell their story, her voice soft but strong. She spoke of her escape from slavery, of the kindness Jedediah had shown her, of the dangers they faced. As she spoke, a pony listened intently, her eyes never leaving Lily May's face. When she finished, a pony spoke. "You are running from a man who hunts you like an animal?" Lily May nodded. "His name is Killian. They call him Snake." A pony's eyes hardened. "He is known to us. He has crossed our lands before, bringing only trouble. We will protect you." Jedediah was surprised but grateful. He knew these people valued their freedom above all else, and he suspected they saw something of themselves in Lily May. As the night deepened, Lily May helped the women of the village prepare beds for them inside one of the teepees. The warmth and the sense of community were a balm to her weary soul. She lay down, listening to the sounds of the village, the soft murmur of voices, the crackling of the fire. She was safe, at least for now. But even as she drifted off to sleep, she knew that Snake Killian was still out there, his eyes like those of a serpent, relentless in his pursuit. And she knew that their journey was far from over. A new dawn. Lily May bolted upright. Usually, the woodsy aroma of pine mingling with the lingering embers of last night's blaze coaxed her into a restful slumber. Today, however, a harsh, ululating cry shattered the peace, sending icy prickles across her skin. Jedediah's bedroll lay empty. She flung aside her blanket and scrambled from a pony's small dwelling. Outside, the village pulsed with a contained frenzy. Painted warriors, ochre and black war stripes stark against their skin, moved with silent purpose, adjusting arrows and hefting shields. Women shepherded children towards the village heart, their instructions whispered but firm. Near the palisade, a pony's gaze was a fixed point on the horizon. Lily May rushed to her side. "What is it?" she breathed. "Killian." A pony's tone was like stone. "He's found us." Lily May's stomach plunged. Scanning the faces around her, a cold dread coiled in her chest. Their peril was her fault. Jedediah materialized beside a pony, rifle held casually but ready. "How many are with him?" he inquired. 10, perhaps a dozen, a pony stated. He wasted no time amassing a force. He wouldn't, Jedediah's jaw tightened. Prefers to handle things personally. A pony turned her attention to Lily May. "You'll stay here, in the village center, with the women and children. You'll be safe." Lily May shook her head, defiance hardening her voice. "No. I can be of use." A pony arched a skeptical brow. "How?" "I possess literacy," Lily May asserted, "and a strategic mind. I can aid in the defense plans." Jedediah's gaze sharpened, a spark of surprise in his eyes. He knew of her reading, but hadn't considered her possessing other talents. A pony scrutinized Lily May, seeking any tremor of dishonesty or fear. Seeing only resolve, she offered a slow nod. "Very well. Come." A pony guided Lily May to a raised platform overlooking the village. A deerskin map depicting the surrounding area was spread across the planks. "Killian will most likely strike from the west," a pony declared, pointing to a defile between two hills. "It's the most accessible route, and therefore the most predictable," Lily May countered, her thoughts already racing. "He'll expect you to heavily defend it. What if we allowed him passage, then spring to trap?" Lily May rapidly sketched out a plan, using her knowledge of the terrain and her insight into Killian's brutal predictability. She proposed a series of ambushes, leveraging the landscape to their advantage. Jedediah listened intently, interjecting with suggestions and refinements. A pony, initially hesitant, began to appreciate the potential in Lily May's insights. As the sun climbed, stretching shadows across the landscape, Killian and his men crested the horizon. They rode with grim determination etched on their faces. The ensuing battle was swift and merciless. Killian, as anticipated, spearheaded the attack, his gaze fixed on the village's core where he believed Lily May cowered. But a pony's warriors were prepared. Their traps snapped shut with lethal efficiency, severing Killian's advance and funneling his men into a deadly gauntlet. Arrows whizzed from the palisades, felling several attackers. Jedediah, perched on a ridge, methodically eliminated remaining combatants with his rifle. Killian fought with the savage fury of a trapped beast, striking down anyone who dared impede him. Yet he was outnumbered and outwitted. Inevitably, he was encircled. Jedediah descended and approached him, rifle trained. "It's finished, Killian," Jedediah stated, his voice devoid of warmth. Killian spat on the ground. "You cannot prevent me," he snarled. "She is a runaway slave. The law protects my claim." "The law?" Jedediah scoffed, a mirthless sound. "You pervert the law to serve your own depravity." The struggle concluded quickly and decisively. Jedediah disarmed and subdued Killian with practiced ease. The village erupted in jubilant cries at Killian and his men's defeat. Lily May observed from the platform, her heart brimming with pride and relief. She had helped defend these people. In doing so, she had found belonging. A pony approached, her features lined with respect. "You possess courage, Lily May," she acknowledged. "You have demonstrated that strength arises from unexpected sources." "Thank you," Lily May replied, her voice thick with emotion. "For everything." "You are welcomed here, Lily May," a pony stated, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You are now one of us." Lily May surveyed the villagers' faces, their expressions radiating warmth and acceptance. She realized she had discovered a new haven, a sanctuary where she could finally break free. As dusk painted the village in golden hues, Lily May stood beside Jedediah, watching the children at play. "Thank you, Jed," she whispered. "For everything." Jedediah shrugged, his expression gruff as ever. "Don't mention it," he muttered. "Just glad it's over." Yet Lily May caught a glimpse of something more in his eyes, hinting at depths beyond the hardened exterior. As darkness enveloped the village, Lily May sensed the dawn of a new chapter. No longer a hunted fugitive, she was now a member of a community, a warrior, a survivor. She found liberation not in running from the past, but in embracing the future. And for the first time in her life, she felt a surge of hope.